Okay, good morning again. We do the meditation in the Kama body, about 10 minutes for everyone. I'm sure all of you your mind is very fresh. It's good to morning, as we mentioned, we experience always. First, try to like very meditation. Try to your mind, focus as much as you can that. Start meditation, then after visualization and in front of you is Buddha's image, then focus that about 10 minutes, okay? I don't have to explain always something again. I'm sure you guys already knows. First I do that will, then beginning meditation, the second time you start to meditation, come back, okay? Okay. Wonderful. How's your meditation? It's a little better now? We relax almost maybe a couple months. A little bit better, a little bit more stable, a little bit more easy for you. No.
Geshe, I have a question.
Yes.
I was reading Lama Yeshe's book, Big Love, and his biography, and it said that in Westerners, when Westerners visualize space, they visualize it black. And when Tibetans visualize space, they visualize it light, like light. I have a hard time conjuring up the visualization of Shakyamuni Buddha when it's just dark and I'm closing my eyes. I don't know if there's a way to start training my mind to visualize space as light rather than dark.
Also?
그런 게 되더라. 이나라 유튜버들 저기 나저 동바 남카 삼단단에 나고 삼단을 했어. 아니 그것도 저기 동바 남카 삼단단에 월드 삼단을 했어. 코란데는 밑도 바이나 보라 나고나지 통도스. 아니 월드에 삼단을 했어. 내가 지금 로장한테 열겠어.
Do you guys hear Jangchub?
I'm sure your audio is broken up a little.
Yeah. Jangchub.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's broken. Maybe your internet's not correct. Anyway.
No good though.
What a good.
Okay.
How about that?
Is it better now? Okay.
Okay. 근데 지난기 미 마음에 지난기 답답하지 something.
So can you imagine? Can you close your eye and imagine your kitchen?
Yes.
간이 통도.
How do you see it?
I mean, I just see it kind of how it is. I don't really see.
제가 근데 white black and 통도.
Yeah.
You don't see it white or black? Anything?
No. It's just in the way it is. It's not white or black, I guess.
오, 제가 담보만도 산지 좀 된데 꼴라 봤다 뭐야고다. 그래 야고다. 무슨 때문에 제가 다 나지 통하셔고 white black 기자 말 가지 수수 샘나 검요나 강 예반에 통과했어.
So just like that, when you look at the Buddha Shakyamuni's, first you have to look at the Buddha Shakyamuni's picture and then familiarize yourself, with the picture. So once you are familiar with that, and then you close your eyes and then you should see it just like you saw it when you open your eye and looked at it, right? So that should not be like a black or light thing, You should see whatever you are familiar with. You just have to imagine just like that.
근데 단다 조세오 뭐야 무슨 말은 남고 샤르베데 저는 남주 샘래고 제가 세오 요발라 아니 다 소소고 나나지 세오 매와 maybe 따로 땡겨.
Yeah, so when you close your eyes and it becomes dark, then maybe you're not familiar with the object that much. So you have to get used, like you're very familiar with your kitchen, everything, in your room. So even when you close your eye, you can still imagine it, just like that.
단다 지난 미마 좀 나간데지와 기실라 간데 좀 따가 샤통데.
So if you close your eyes, can you imagine Geshe-la? How Geshe-la looks like?
Oh, that tender was good.
Yeah, so it should be like that.
가르네 대영화도 그 가져와대 남주 약분 지어왔는데 그 대영화.
So because that happens, you're able to see that because you are usually familiarized with that person or that object. That's why you're able to see it clearly when you close your eyes.
but I can see the Buddha clearly. It's a black background. It's not. And when I think of Geshe, I think of Geshe, but I don't see the background and like the things that are going on in the background. It's just I try to visualize Geshe, not.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just
No,
이렇게 말아.
제도 개요 말이네. 그 잡로 가려면 따고 말. 그런 산지 코로나 가려면 신나 나보잖아. 개 되는 것 개요 말이나. 산지 코로나 그 잡로 가려나 그 주도 내용 말이야.
You know, the background doesn't matter. You know, what you have to see is the Buddha, you know, clearly. As long as you see Buddha clearly, then the background, even you see it's a red, green, black, or whatever, it doesn't matter.
okay.
제가 단단히가 곰자한테 남배에 치 많이 쳐. 다야 대 제가 답 되오면나 양 메토온다고. 양나 거한다고. 양나 다 소소 가리나 곰초를.
So, as a Buddhist, you know, we are encouraged or advised, you know, to visualize Buddha Shakyamuni because of the benefits of putting, you know, a positive imprint in our mind. But if you don't find that comfortable, then you can choose any object that you are familiar with, no? Like a piece of object like a pot or like a flower or whatever you want, you are comfortable with, you can use that.
제가 신의 강가 가리나 이 가리나 되는 신의 곰이에요.
So you can actualize calm abiding by depending on any kind of object.
신의 접연 접거.
Yeah, you can actualize it.
제가 나도 남백 인지문제 산지 그 세대와 그 가르나 아니 지 산지 지스 잠바다. 아니 소소고야 지 소는 거 처음 보사 티체도 공부요.
So in Buddhism, we are encouraged, you know, or advised to visualize Buddha Shakyamuni because by visualizing Buddha Shakyamuni, that helps us to remember Buddha. You know, so just remembering Buddha and accumulating merit for that benefit, you know, we are advised, you know, to visualize Buddha Shakyamuni.
Okay. 제가 양 잠좀 miktaje yang mi ma cham yang yi mi pa ta tu chen yang mi ma cham ga yang la lu na yang pa chi ta chi lu chen ya sem mi ko na da bi ten de na ko sem ka te de de ro.
So you can close your eyes and try to visualize the object or the Buddha, and if you don't see it clearly, then you can open your eye and then look at the actual statue of Buddha Shakyamuni. And then get familiar with that, and then close your eyes, and then visualize again, imagine that, and then if you find it becoming dim or losing the object, then you can open your eyes again, and then look at the picture or the image of the statue, and then close your eyes. So you can train in that way also.
제가 나도 남주전에 뭐 되고시 파당전에 미디 가린 토나 샘 디지를 파 준로 다 아니 코 개바용 니가서 다 미 맞점세 다 남주 공공지나 미 나트라 밥친도 치 맞다데 버로지나 아디 핑겨로 와 배트코 좀야 많이 받지.
And so usually, of course, for the beginners, it might be difficult to imagine with your eyes open, or even by casting down your eye on the tip of the nose. That's what it usually is. You don't close it completely. You just cast down to the tip of your nose, and that just you don't. So you only see the tip of the nose. You don't see other things. If you see other things, then that brings other distractions. That's why you are supposed to cast down your eyes on the tip of the nose and just see that and nothing else. But for beginners, if it's difficult to do that, then you can just close your eye for the beginning. At the beginning, and then slowly you can, say, although that are wide open, you can even imagine the objects.
양 대깔에 가와나 우근종을 하고 파당 다야 다 때마저 때 소주 세면 될 때네 우 파당 주당 파당 되야 테마 뭐 까마 지종을 제적을 했어.
And so our mind follows our eyes. So whatever we see with our eye, then mind goes to that right away. And therefore, it is advised to close your eyes so that our mind doesn't follow all those objects that we see with our eyes and get distracted. If you find that difficult, then you can also concentrate on your breathing, on your breath. And as you breathe in, think you're breathing in. As you breathe out, think you're breathing out. And you can just do that like 10, 15 times.
양 참참배나간 좀 많은 저 너무 나로 되네 주지 소수 깨도 소수 고 잠지지네 소수 깨라 소수 대 년에 되나 양 대야 검찰이
Sometimes people find it easier to like visualize the sound. Like you can recite Om Mani Padme Hum or Om Tare Tu Tare Turi Soha, the Chinesic mantra or Tara mantra, and then think about that sound. Then just remember that sound, and then just imagine that sound also. You can do that.
근데 저런 그 소속 그 아무도 식감네 옴따레 들도 소속 고그래. 꽤 소속 게면 꽤 셔마도 나는 요거 말해.
So if you cover your ears and then you recite Om Tare Tu Tare Turi Soha, then you can still hear your voice, but you will not hear the other sounds from outside. You will hear your voice.
소속 깨든지 찡귀도 와지 다도 와지 고대다.
So you feel like your sound, your voice is coming from somewhere at the back of your neck.
뭐지 다 된저. 야 델레 테 칼레 카잖아 아니 샘랑기 옴따레 도다레 들어서 아주 건다 주주 주버치 저기 와 샘랑기 칸이 특담에 왔지 샘랑기 옴따레 도다레 코츠 옴따레 도 테테 칼레 카요 샘마테 그치 그래서.
And also you can do mental recitation, because I like the mental recitation, where your mind visualize the syllables, the letters, right? And then you keep your mind, you just going through that the mantra, Om Tare Tu Tare Turi Soha, so with your mind thinking about that mantra. So that's a little bit more difficult because your mind has to be focused on the letters, on the syllables. And then imagine reciting that, not like that. So that's more difficult. But if you want to do that, you can do that also.
야단 변에 주저 사람님 보러 루마로 올려나 틱 드라마 왔지 아니 샘 랑기 건 나버신데 때 가루깔에 가오요 샘 가루 때기 지그래 슈가리 자기 지그래.
Or if you are familiar with other prayers like the Heart Sutra or 21 prayers to Sutara, then you can just imagine the words, not the sound, just the word itself. Not just the word, the letters, just the letters of the word, the Heart Sutra, and just focus and concentrate on that. That's more difficult, more advanced, but you can try that also.
그래서 나 저때 삼삼 맞았나 뒤바로 특징 주나 아니 양 나도 라로 그래.
Because you're following all these the letters on the word of the text, Heart Sutra. And so, you have to follow every word, every letter on the word, with the mind. If you miss one or make a mistake, then you will not be able to follow completely. Then you have to go back again and then do it again. So this is more difficult.
다들 저와지라 다 가르치는 데 깔려 자기로서 텔레가 돼. 겁니 가르치는 게 있어. 당나가도 소화 결례면 와.
So now there's a question: why do we have to establish this calm abiding? What's the benefit? Right now, we don't get any feeling, any benefits, right? And we don't see any benefits or get any feelings.
전에 전에 그 샘tempo 야보지 제가도 제 접송과 연방이나 아니 가라서 제 리더 샘라야 아니 대화 슈침보지 아니 미세게 아니 샘데 가도 가르치 소소 가도 가르치지라고 그랬어.
And so, if we're able to focus, then like our mind will find more pleasure. Bliss or ecstasy, and we'll be able to focus on anything that we want to do. Whatever we want to put our mind on, we can easily be able to put on.
선배는 가도 뭐라 가까워는 가도 이거는 탭을 가르치는 가도 라파요. 어때로 가도 진짜 단단 가도 샘도 수준 가도 샘그 가로 가도 샘그 지하만도 그러면 가도 샘 축구 도움도.
So it's like you're maneuvering, the like the steering wheel. You can maneuver wherever direction, whichever direction you want to go to, you can move towards that. You can turn towards that. So it's like that. Your mind will become flexible like that. Right now, it's not easy for us. It's very difficult, right? So we just follow the mind. We can't maneuver the mind. We are moved by mind. So if we are able to actualize the calm abiding, then we'll gain control over our mind.
Okay. Good. Everyone ready? A little bit understand?
So now going back to our actual text, we were talking about the mind training, right?
Lama 내가 소바담네 간지 내 로종의 냠네데 야보용 와쇼 델라 조단 틀린데도 시도 소소 다 레바치 잡고 요래.
And so before you engage in the actual practice of the mind training, you should make a strong request or supplication, to the Guru deity that you have strong faith and connection with, for to bless you and to assist you, to do this practice.
아니 대지우잖아 아니 아무 로종고 콜라야 다 사실 투대지로 봐 담보 년도든지 취템바스데 다 다리치야 돼 아니 지 단조니까 저마다 원래를 콜라서는데 다된 봐.
And then when you're going into the actual practice of mind training, so before that you do the preparatory practice. The preparatory practice involves meditating on prophetic and rebirth, death and impermanence, karmic law, cause, infection, and so forth, right?
가지배는 처음부터 왔어야 된 거죠. 그 누이 쇼케야 계시면 가지 내선들의 용식이랬어. 내가 용구 요래서 지금 돌아태쳐 봐.
So when we talk about the death and impermanence, it's not talking about bad omen or something bad. It's talking about the fact that this will happen to all of us, and so we should prepare ourselves before this happens to us. Like weather, it changes every day, right? And then with the change of the weather, then there comes the changes, of the environment, like the trees, plants, and so forth, right?
New England
And like in New England, all the plants, the trees, they change, right? Especially in winter time, they're all dry, and you can only see the bare branches on the trees, no leaves, no greeneries, right? Then when it becomes spring and summer, then you see all the green leaves and changes happening like that, right?
제가 대나징이 시그 중화라 아니 저와는 저 알아서 다 나가 알아서 미긴 중화라 저와 삼점 기본용으로 삼점 두어용으로 삼점 내서 강연 책은 삼점한테 파 유래요 그래서 간지 열도 그래서 강연으로 오는데 가디나 강연전에 지는 내가 말했어. 야지
기본 the external plants and trees get changes by these different elements. Our mind, the people also changes, right? The inside of the mind of the people also changes. Sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's going through suffering. So depending on the external conditions, internal conditions, we become happy, we become sad, and so it doesn't stay all the same all the time.
Okay. 아니 아직 그 샤워 람론 정도 야보시면 다 대양 그 땜보시라요 말했어요.
And even like the success, that we have sometimes is not stable either.
어제 두지에마다 간지 그 누가 전에 계시가 마셨다는 게 다지 직대는 좋다. 누구 주니 가야 봐. 저와 뭐 따와서 됐대셔야 돼요.
And so it's not talking about bad things, it's talking about the actual things that happens in our day-to-day life. We talk about death and impermanence.
어제 아니 삼점 가디나 저와 뭐 따와자시는 가이나 삼 시기도 와.
So you might be wondering why we're talking about death and impermanence all the time, right?
되게 간나 셋만기 지금 무보고 내서 강하긴 받대. 나도 근데 레바서 나도 레라가다야. 근데 강인 되나야 나도 샘쇼 나도 trouble.
So we know intellectually we know that this is how things are. Like we know about the death and impermanence, but when it really happens to us, then we just get overwhelmed by the situation, by the condition, right? And then we forget about this is death and this is the impermanence. So it's happening. It's okay. It's not easy for us to accept that, right? At that time.
근데 계산되는 점고를 붙여야 된다. 그러고 계산이 된다고마들이야. 손주도 대망하게 저버리려잖아요. 다 직강에 태워 단대가 팬데믹 내리가로 다 가르쳐 오래스. 그 지금 저버리도다. 텔레군도서도 간지 내즈들이야 파 강에 들어 파 줘야게 탑이 강 요바도 체스. 가지 탑이 제 맨나다 소소가 가지 다 논리 차라레스. 액셉트 차라레스. 모두 손소와.
So I think last week's teaching on His Holiness, when His Holiness gave teaching, it was mostly about question answer, and somebody asked question about how to handle the situation like this situation of the pandemic. And then His Holiness said, you do all your best to escape from that. But if you can't, then just accept it.
제자 안에 뒤게 되라 같이 주소에는 달마가 지식 배 같이 주소면은 달마가 지식도 색된 막 장소 다도 배 nen가를 색.
So for that, to support that, then he quoted from Shantideva's text. Says if it can be fixed, why worry about it? If it cannot be fixed, then what's the point of worrying about it?
Okay. 제자 간제 샘 shum마다 같이 샘 투마다 같이 간제 강에들 타야죠나 그 답시지 매나고 하고 대랑 키는 로데다.
So don't be like disappointed or discouraged. If you can apply a means to escape from that, then of course, by all means, apply that means. But if there is no means, then there's nothing we can do, right? Just accept it, and it will be easier.
그냥 너와랑 나도 지금 도도나이 지금 마도로 나포는 거 있나 땅 앞에 사선서 샘비전에 제대로 그샘 맞지 없게요 말았어. 대여는 이제 줄롱으로는 딴데 미국 통으로 좀 미치 삼수 샘망감라 자냐나들. 근데 그 지점도 그런 남에도 지시 샤샤바이나 그처럼 너가 말해.
So like say if you got a big stain or mold on your face and then if you just worry about that all the time, then it doesn't help, right? It doesn't help, so you do try your all means to get rid of it, just by worrying about what do people think if they see me, like that. But if you worry like that, then it increases your problem or it increases your suffering more. But if you say, it's there, I tried all my best to get it, but it didn't go, so it's there, what can I do? It's okay. If you think like that, then if you don't care about what people think, how you look and so forth, and you say, it's okay, it's there, it doesn't matter, and like that. If you think like that, then it will not really matter so much.
제자 만든 아주 수술 샘난 남도 강 요가 탐지 미치 계시나 알 지라고 매도 상은 똑같아 그래. 배나 미미 파주게 시야 되거나 소소 미치라시라 마강이지나 아이 코니 파지 내걸지 시야 매도 소소 남도 가서 소용 그래.
I said they say it is like a big disease, like to think, what will people think? What will people think? Like that. And so always, because of that, then we have this more superstitions in our mind. So even if somebody is talking, there, and then you always think, maybe they're talking bad about me. Even if somebody is doing something, maybe they're planning to do something bad for me and bad to me, like that. Always you have these kind of superstitions in your mind. So this kind of superstitions or conceptual thoughts can create so much problem in our mind.
제가 나중에 말 이제 잡았지. 좋은 나도 제가 되는 나도 신내라고 넣다봐이나 나도 샘도 가와 걸고라고 나도 가르치지로 단단 나도 제마다 샘은 나도 가와는 치료도 와.
So right now our mind is not controlled, so therefore we just follow the mind, so wherever the mind, so if the mind thinks, maybe they're talking bad about you, then you think that they're talking bad about you, and then you believe that they're talking bad about you, and you just go with that, right? But if you are able to achieve calm abiding, then you can, drive your mind in whatever direction you want, and then you feel no worries about it.
Okay, that is what 제가 아니 당가도 가서 처음 왔다고 아니 뒤에올라 아니 인기지 상처고 샘셔봐대 또 간제 나제 냠제고니 상처고 샘제다 나 아니 다 동반이 고메데 봐.
And so then for those are the preparatory practice, and then after that in the actual practice you generate bodhicitta through equalizing and exchanging self with others, and then also you meditate on emptiness.
젠기텐데야 아니 그러고 샘중라고 슈첨보지 여와나 아니 소수가 강에 여와나 소수 강에도 싫어 들고 말이야.
So if you have a very strong wish to work for the benefit of others, then even if you have some difficulties in yourself, you will not feel that at all.
근데 제가도 단단한 배나 부재상이 아마들이요 봐. 제가도 배나 부주시에 걸려야 아니 부고들어야 tesm 슉 쳐라야 아마 뭐랑 남북강이 집어 열어다이나 때까지 체드스네 싫어 돌고만 또 피장장성 나도요.
Like so many of you here are already a mother, right? So you have given a birth to a child and you have become mother. And so like, because you're thinking so much about your child, you're going through the same kind of difficulty like other people. Other people have the same, you have the same kind of suffering, just other like other people. But because you're thinking so much about your child that you don't feel, the suffering at all to do for the child, to work for the child, to go through the suffering, for child.
제가 뒤가 아니 소주강에도 고쳐면 소주강에도 여들다 임바나 근데 파줘라야 제심 전부 세와 뒤게 소주강에도 지라야 그런 건 좋다고요 말.
So you find the same amount of difficulties, like other people, but because of your compassion or love for the child, even though you have the same kind of difficulties or suffering, but you don't feel that because of your strong love and compassion or concern for the child.
오케이 다 다지 상처 생고 언제 상처 생겨 아니 땡에 상처랑도 들어왔어야 돼 다지 뒤가라지 소소고 내 나도 발치 만보여래 상처 생고 냠내 쳐라 빼 발치 만보 삼좀 샘 추도 삼좀 아니 추체인데 로메와 용거 다 텐데 가라 삼섭체 나도 도만다고 서 동상도 온데 아니 지금 소소에 디파 샤야게 탑시 먹고 제고.
And then also there is converting the unfortunate circumstances into a path to enlightenment. And so when you're doing these kind of practices, there are so many obstacles that you face. And sometimes you get so disturbed, and then sometimes you don't have a wish to do the practice at all. So when you're faced with these kind of obstacles, then it is important to engage in the practice of purification, like purifying your negativities, through engaging in the practice of the Vajrasattva mantra recitation, visualization and recitation of the Vajrasattva mantra, and or through the 35 Buddha downfall confessions, like that.
어디지 다들 된 뒤줄 가로 아니 퇴직에 냠내 되는 때 봤어 말어 아니 그놈이 아버지 가지 센들라이나 가디나 다 니마 데리네게 가다 님이 지금 샘드 뇨모 영어도 기로 지금 맞게 지게서 다 그놈까지 편바야 못 당하더라고.
And then after that, is applying, the practice into your one lifetime, and that, of course, starts with the practice of the 5 powers, starting with the power of determination, where it is actually, a setting of a proper motivation, thinking that I'm going to do this practice, throughout my life. I will never, let the practice, of mind training or bodhicitta to deteriorate.
다 대주고도 당한도 로종 체들와 다 지난게 간지 근데 지금 개와 지와라 때니 소수지 뇨모 맞추는 로요에나 아니 로종 체레스 로종
After that, practice, to be applied in your whole life, then is the criteria or measure of having trained your mind.
다 주바데 다 로종 탐지 가정들 앞에 봐.
And then after that, after the criteria is like, when you have, how do you know when you have trained your mind? It's like when you have done these practices and, you are able to find, that whatever you're doing, is working against your delusion, then you have trained your mind. And after that is the 6th one, I think 6th, right? Is the commitment of the mind training. So what are you supposed to do? The advice is, what are you supposed to do once you have done this practice of mind training?
아니 다 소소 로종은 냠네 바 예노도 지는 간지 짐발라 채소미지 받는데
So one of the commitment is to not look down on others by thinking of yourself and as being a mind training practitioner.
아니 대 담보치 아니 니바데 아니 소소라 로종은 냠네 요노도 지네 간지 다 쯤이지 미신지 그러고 나와 나름도 마도와 민남도 맞아 같은 게 내가 지요 말했어.
And then the second one, is like by pretending yourself as being the practitioner of mind training, then engaging in an inappropriate actions, activities, that's inappropriate to the worldly people. Those kind of actions, it's okay, I can do that because I'm a mind training practitioner. No, nothing like that. So of course, among us here, I don't think we have that, but there are some people who pretend to have certain so and so realization and so forth. Like we talked about that with many stories last time, right?
And that lojon TV template can any ta zogum to so the zogum chetawachi dala zogum chemeto mind by go nija chibata go is.
And so when you have trained your mind, not only being able to be patient with your friends, but being able to be patient with your enemies. So you should see both equal, the enemies and friends.
And yam mulla zuba mumayla muzuba yam mi setting of some of chegolis. Yam simply jambala ke chegomata the mind by and tata chibano go.
And so so we say we be patient with the human beings, but not with the non-human beings like the spirits, nagas, and so forth. So not saying that so we should see all the beings equal.
Dani shiva de penanga chimur dumba jella answer joset and nenga chimbo shure dumba jella answer shows
Shivadi.
Dumba
The fourth one is very important. Kasi also
dumba jurch ani answer jas so the same nanga samo taji shloka kanjin yang kiji tango mares.
So the fourth one is saying that we should keep our mind with the mind training practice, but don't have to change the external looks or behaviors.
Aje susu sem jambo de injero matang wache ani shloka ji namju dawacho ma to nanga sem de batang go re 들어와.
맞아, 지록이 남주도 좀 어떤 거 말했어.
shloka tang ma so na good some now sem is.
So the external appearance, you don't have to change so much. So the main thing to change, is your internal mind.
제가 나디 쇼나 아니 니마치 마주나 아니 다바치 대마주나 로치기나 대했다고 그래.
And so you should try to do that for a whole year, if not then for a whole month, if not at least for the whole day.
제가 니나라 koppecha다 타와를 잘했다. 너도 타와제 좀더 타와만다 가르벤. 강한테 전화 제가 좀 해만 남배기 출로 좀 맞춰보다 다대감이 그 조사면 아니 강해만 하지 샘딩해만 하지 레도였나? 아니 남배 추전에 koppecha라 도움을 아니 남만 안 들이들이 다 들이들이나 샘비 때 저와도나 아니 다 들이들이 그래.
So here they give the example of a monk, but you can apply it, you can think of yourself in that way also. So what he's saying is that before you become a Buddhist and after you become Buddhist, there hasn't been any changes. If there has been no changes in your mind, in towards thinking about the positive things and so forth, then it's not hasn't been useful. All this practice that you have done hasn't been useful. But if you see the changes, if you find that yourself different than before, then that practice has been effective. So this is to look at to yourself, not to others. I see change in him, I see change in her. Not like that. See whether yourself, whether you see changes in yourself or not.
So it's
here you don't see the stones on top of the house, but if it stays same like the stone on top of your house, then there has been no much benefits.
Longa England ngane chona ngape mezu karo kangetera ta nachu chebalateni ale ta nesu do hakondo ya ta chibamba ta ba se ya legende se ko hakoeza o ta de ni yoare sambe suzuchi some matter that so just same to take in Jaguar.
So, for example, like if you fall into a situation, if that situation has happened like 5 years ago, then you will be so much devastated. But if that happened now, then you don't find much difficult, to deal with that. And so so before I wasn't a Buddhist, and therefore I didn't understand. But now I'm a Buddhist. I know about death and impermanence and so on. So when this happens, and I can understand, and like if you feel like that, then that has helped you.
다 간이 이제나 아니 상적으로 셈 연주 못 따봐서지 아니 콜라삼로 간데지 따터바이나 이기 아니 수수 셈도 빠졌고 그래서.
And so how will you be able to have that kind of change? Is if you have thought about death and impermanence, you have thought about bodhicitta, if you thought about renunciation and so on.
제자가 아니 시군시대 코라사로 샤치 난갈다 견도고 있는데 까망아서면 마치와 제가 당원이 셈도 장거요 따래.
So the external behavior or appearance, you can live as it was before, but internal mind, if you don't fall into the delusions even for a minute, then that's the good sign of having trained your mind.
제자 안에 실로는 다나 밀점 집아 지지 제가치 나라야 코셈 투대요나 다데 코즈마레스.
So like, externally you close your eyes, you fold your hands together and pretend as you're very highest practitioner. But then internally, if you are thinking about all these bad thoughts, all the delusions arising in your mind, then that's a fake practitioner.
제자 안에 니마 장고르미 지송서 근데 지제치 장고르미 제가 다 손주도 원래 송사 아니 저 돌로나 뭔가 그런데 그 아니 저 줄로 리메이라 노사 다 돌로 까보 마보 서버자 간지 맞을 건지 장고르미 지는 거는 가로 니제가 코네 다 드는 거는 니제 섬치 가고 다 드는 종송스 제가 다 드는 얘기 나와요.
So like His Holiness mentioned one time, there was a Westerner who came to listen to His Holiness teaching, and then in the audience. So he came with all kinds of clothes. He's wearing all kinds of clothes, like the red and white and yellow and so forth. And then he said, I am a what do you call that? Non-sectarian. So he says, I'm a non-sectarian. So like he's showing the non-sectarian from outside by wearing different clothes. But inside, he doesn't have any sense, any kind of sense, of non-sectarian from inside. So His Holiness, oh, poor guy, he doesn't know. So he felt like that. He felt compassion. He said he felt compassion for this guy.
Oh, that's the chance of the teaching. That's so young. I'm Kashikaji, and the Zochi, what that teaching. That in the way. Jeda take a pellet to Son the and then Papa Lochumba said, but then Dawat about Jethimo Shavala said, Shalo Dana got to meet Chiba Chibandes, and I'm Gombolo Tawa in Bayana, and the Pa remote teacher Palaya, Umasho, Indigare, Nagotopa Nipa Yores, and Shalogi Tana Chibano Yores, which you are. Dinner door. Not how you do it.
So of course, among us here, we don't see people like that. But it's most important is like externally, you can have as same as before, but internally, it should bring changes like that. And then they give an example, of the Chodapindaka and Shanti Deva. Externally, they're all like the regular, normal, crazy people. But internally, having all these realizations. Susa, and then Chandakirti, who's having these realizations. Outside looking like an ordinary person, but internally he has high realizations, like you can even milk from a cow that was drawn or painted on a wall. He milked, he actually real milk, milked from the cow, drawn on the wall. Right there.
제자 안에 가서 자세 시발라나 날렌달라 밑에서 다 하모건다 코 니시스마 와스 당이 뭐 몰라서 코 칼라사야 소바타야 니코야미지 코요 말했을랍대요.
And so like Shanti Deva, who acted like a very ordinary person, in normally, very almost like, even worse than ordinary person, like who's doing only three things, like, sleeping, eating, and defecating. That's all he does. That's all they say, that he does only those three things, like that. But internally, he had such a high realization.
아니 다는 지금 봐봐 러춘 봤어야 돼. 아니 샤리퍼 아니 산지 좀 된다야 아니 네 마땅 왜돼 아니 봐봐 러춘 봐대. 봐봐 러춘 왜 아니 샤리퍼 뛰어와 말어.
그래서 파보셔도
봐봐 샤리퍼데 산지 좀 되다 투 가다 대자 투투고 말해. 아니 임바나 아니 봐봐 러춘 봤다니 아니 샤리퍼데 넘버 투 쇼고 말해.
람초바요 셰르브 나머지 저래.
람초바 저다. 산지 좀 된데 샤리퍼데 코 넘버를 투 용 랭게와 하고요. 제가 다 내려 코를 빠다니 코진 라카면서 아니 시간 남죠 아니 봐봐 러치바도 패게와 빠다니 아니 봐봐 러치바기 아니 샤리퍼 산지 좀 해서 치용으로.
And so like the Chuda Pindaka, who brought even like a Shariputra into the circle of Buddha's disciple. The Buddha, of course, has and clairvoyance and can see that Shariputra can be brought in. It can come in. He will come in, but it was hard to create the condition, for him to, because Shariputra already was very learned, so you can't just convince him just with the logical reasons. So you have to have some disciplines or some behavior, so then he sent Chudapindaka. So by looking at the behavior of the Chudapindaka, then Shariputra got tamed, and then he came to follow Buddha. Like that.
그럼 봐봐 러치 받은 것도 남지 빼잖아요. 두다 시식도 곰다 니모치 와서. 단 나긴 또박 냠래 강대지 여와나 아니 쇼로 그 쇼바도 파마 시식도 많이 거여서 와.
또 가서
그래 두톱 시식도 곰다 니모치 와. 투비 따라 때네 아니 뭐 시식도 많이 그래. 곰발은 니모치도 그랬어.
So usually they give the example of Chudapindaka as someone who is disciplined, from through the hearing, like when you listen, when you study, then you understand. Oh, then you become more peaceful. And then but when you do the meditation, when you meditate a lot, when you do meditation, then you reduce the delusions in your mind. And so that's how it is, with the Chudapindaka. So they give the example like you should have less delusions as a sign of having meditated, and be pacified and as a sign of having learned, and just like the Chudapindaka.
어제 다 가서 니나라 요말 가지 다 니나 가르나 가지 슬로키 둘로코나들이 남지치 말하고 이제 뜬거 말해서 고야 저디 다 난게 샘데 요모고도 말하고 우리 다대 샘 아니 로종가 담색지리 했어.
So this is main thing here. They're saying so we don't have to bring transformations in our outside look, but should bring transformation in our internal mind, and so should have less delusions in our mind, and that's the commitment of mind training.
그래? 그러나 아니 제자 아니 까든베 그다 람 냠는 거 선배때 다 범는 거 마음에 든다. 범반을 마음에나 싫은 두고 말고 나는 그 마음에 세워야 된다. 그 범반을 요원자 다 범나는 같이 이거로 감로나 좀에 빠셔야나 싫은 두고 말고 나는 그 세스 그리고 자동 세워 자도 되려고 그래서.
And so just like it says is in this tradition of Adisha and the Kadampas, you must hide your good qualities like a butter lamp concealed inside a pot. So if you light a lamp inside the pot, it's very lighted inside, right? Inside is very clear. You can see everything inside there, but outside nobody can see it. So like that, your quality of the mind should be concealed inside, and outside, just like an ordinary person, but inside should be all lighted with these qualities.
Okay, 다 되지. 다 논으로 되지. 아니 뒤시고 다 나와대 연락 냠바 좀 하시더랬어.
And then he says the fifth one is to do not mention the others' withered limbs.
제자야나 베나 미치라야 가지. 이해하니 막. 간지 미시행 가지 껴마 줘서 껴마 줘서.
So basically, what it is saying is that don't point at other people's fault.
이처럼 배가 말했어.
That will not help you.
아니 미셴바들이야 코치 가로 그다 포야라고 나야 되게 교육을 같이 대마체스로.
But if you do that, it doesn't benefit you at all, but it can harm other people. So therefore, don't do that.
그래? 단데 그 십자지는 뭐 보여다 간지 간지 다 주도면서 주도를 마대서 그래 이제.
Yeah, so don't talk, don't speak about others' defects, or don't get into other people's business.
이는 다 림바데야 그 가셔 그 노상 가가지고 와.
But in this country, there's different ways because of different culture, right?
제가 간지 다 콘도 지금도 지금도 코시금도 코치 차월에서 된다더니 라고 만도서 그래.
So he's saying that, oh, he's like that, she's like that, he doesn't know, she doesn't know, or he became like that, she became like that. That kind of things you don't have to talk about.
다들 주바데 아니 연쇼 강야 삼 무슨 뭐서 그래.
And then the sixth one is like, so do not think of others at all.
예다다 연지 제가 좀 파주벌에 좀저 틀마 돼서 와 연지 좀 강쇼라 못 줘봐. 라경라 아니 다치 줘버려서.
So do not point at other people's fault. So one should not strive in pointing the faults of others. Rather, should strive in pointing the faults of oneself.
니나라 갈람도 아니 다 자상당 감대서 연지 좀 맞으라 람도.
So here it says the members of your monastery college or monks in your house at the college, etc. You will says you will only look at the faults in your fellow practitioners.
제가 단데 라모 단데 가르는 가서 간지 소소고 뭐 남이 좋아 때문에 아니 내가 저러도 그 교장장 체마대서.
Yeah, so this is talking about the situation in the monks, right? In the monasteries, with the monks. But of course, here we're different. So here, same thing, right? In our life, you have neighbors, you have friends and families. So don't point at the faults of your friends, your families, and your neighbors.
근데 박경은 장자다와나 산지 좀 전에 좀 통과를 했어.
So if you look at the faults only, then you will see faults even in Buddha Shakyamuni.
산지 좀 전에 빈자 예적이야. 아니 산지를 껴주면서 얘도 지금 통과해 말.
Like Devadatta, he only saw faults in Buddha Shakyamuni. He didn't see any qualities in him.
제가 간도 가디나라 미절 소소배나 소소다 소소 마가타지 차와는 믿을었다나 아니 껴자자면서 얘도 좀 통과.
So if you look at somebody you hate or you don't like, you only see the faults in that person. You don't see any good qualities in that person. Same.
제가 대용도 안 가도 소소 배나 미지도 소소 마가와 차와이나 아니 믿기 뒤 산이 지는 가도 믿기 껴자자면서 얘도 야가 지금 통과도 못 돼.
So like if we dislike somebody or become angry at somebody, then we only see the faults of that person. We don't see any good qualities in that person, right?
제가 대고 쇼치니 봐줘 껴 유저다. 다 니네 소소고 삼다다 차는 거로 봐.
Yes, of course there may be a fault in that person, but we exaggerate or we see only that because of our mind hating or not liking that person.
오늘이 가는 그래. 가는 거는 되게 지나 아니 지난 게 생각까지 강에 돼 그래서 고 지난 좀 가서 되게 봐줘 노래 말하고 지난 게 생각야 가지 너무 마음 파리 버려. 대자 때 맞지스.
So why is that bad? Is because it increases the delusions in your mind. It of course it may harm or may not harm other person, but it will definitely increase more delusions in your mind. So therefore, you should not do that.
다는 소소 이체상 미지나 아니 다고 담보 이 맞이는 따지 제조 이체 tem질 다 양조 때 따지 제 맞대스. 아니 때 따지 전에 그 지금 많이 말은 도나 아니 소소고 줘볼라도 그러다 어때 맞지스.
So if you have somebody that you have faith in or believe in, then don't analyze on that person so much. Don't investigate on that person so much, because if you do that, then you might lose your faith or and belief in that person.
뒤에 가는 소소 가는 도보식 라는 거 봐.
So that will because that will lose your friend. That you will lose your friend if you do that.
我的动作感觉，他动作感觉都拍拖马来来的，当地听到劳动之后，先给卷讲在台湾呢，第一讲了拍拖马的，其他电马节是他这些劳动听过的。
So basically, what he's saying is that don't look at the faults of others. If you do, then you will lose your friends.
你本来过多去家长之后就这么多看一下呢，过老板把这下去呢，过这么多看嘛，过老板现在这么多看，是吧？
So if there is a a thing that causes a lot of bad smells, then you should just leave it alone. If you touch it or you dig it, then you get more and more bad smells. So therefore, you should just leave it there.
我的别听着我就看到你，肯定呢，人给讲，人给讲说讲了，什么当的玩意呢？你说什么呀？感觉没几把强用的，你没接受，是吧？
Yeah. So if you look at the faults of others all the time, then that will make your mind unhappy. So therefore, don't do that.
而且，现在那时候当工那就说你的错当这个，你什么当去是吧？
Yeah, these are the things that we that are related with our day-to-day life, thinking and living, right?
现在那时候老中国什么当的时候，看到那时候说了最过来没，没怕做不了，偏没别个讲嘛，说了。 So this
practice of the mind training is to direct towards yourself, towards oneself, not towards others, but towards oneself. If I do that, I will get harmed. I will get harmed. So all these things. If you do this, I'll get. If I do this, I'll get harmed like that. And also, if you do that, like points at the faults of others like that, then they will also lose their faith in you. Then you will lose their respect towards you.
And so you give the lana, and you been a me patch of the solar chill lavina, and you talk on the water, get to do it by now, and you take Yagamara, who you chimney.
So if you don't have the belief, if that person doesn't have a belief or respect towards you, then that person will not regard you or listen to you, right? Because you don't have that respect or belief anymore. Therefore, that person will not listen to you.
Okay. Okay, now we are not talking too much. And, we're going to stop here. And yeah, and after we have something to eat.
Thank you, Geshe. I did see somebody had a hand up for a while, but we can have one question if that person has a burning question. Otherwise, maybe we can move on to our celebration.
What question?
Anybody? No?
Okay. First, we finish the praise. Then we can do the big party on the online. Make sure everyone the sky, okay?
So prayer.
First we can do finish pray.
Saji perkejuk ching me tok tram re rab ling jini degyen pade sange jing du ming te uwagi drokul nam dak shing la cher pa shuk je tsun la me kutse rab ten ching nam ka trin le chuk chuk gi pa dang lo sang ten pe dren me sasungi roe mun tel tak tu me gyu chi hidam guru rat namanda lakam nir yatayani. In that snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig remain in life till samsara's end. Savior, the snowland teachings and transmigratory beings who extensively clarifies the path that unifies emptiness and compassion, to the lotus in the hand, Lord Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be fulfilled. You who uphold the subduer's moral way, who serve as the bountiful bearer of all, sustaining, preserving, and spreading Mahajana's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplishes magnificent prayers honoring the three jewels, Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please live long. Through this virtue may I swiftly, having gained Guru Buddha's state, place each and every sentient being without exception in that state. Precious supreme Bodhi mind, may where unborn arise and where born never decline, but increase forevermore. Ik meet se waiter chen rezik, dream yen pe wang po jam pel yang, gang chen ke pe tsu gen Tsongkhapa, lo san rak pe jabla so va de.